Chris, here's an interesting question that hopefully you can really enlighten our audience with. The 32nd District is primarily consisted of manufacturing and small businesses. So share with the audience tonight, what is your plan to attract green tech companies to this district?
Well, again, through my travels, I noticed some of those wind turbines going down the freeway. I actually was at a truck stop once, and I asked the guy, I said, where are you taking this to? And he said, it was the big, long, tall part of the thing, huge, long tube that they walk up to get to the very top. He said, oh, we're taking it to Louisiana. I said, why? Oh, there's a defect with it. We hauled it up to the Tehachapi Pass, where they put a lot of them. I'm sure some of you folks are familiar with that, or Palm Springs. And it didn't pass inspection. I said, well, where'd they make it? North Vietnam was his reply. I'm going, North Vietnam. Guess what? We can make it just as good, and they won't have to send it to Louisiana to get it fixed, because I believe the people in the San Gabriel Valley can do that the first time right. So I would start giving incentives for the companies that want to come in to free enterprise zones, whatever would work, so that we could get all of these wind turbines, solar panels, all those devices manufactured right here in the San Gabriel Valley. There's no reason why we can't. We've got all the materials, we've got all the highways, although they could be improved for traffic, but we put people back to work, and then we start building those turbines right here. We don't have to make them in North Vietnam. We can make it right here in the San Gabriel Valley, and that's what I'll do at Congress. We'll get the American public proud to be made in the USA back as the logo, especially from this district.
Thank you, Chris. Betty?
Parts of the San Gabriel Valley, frankly, is not friendly to invite manufacturing plants into their city. And in order to become more friendly in that regard, I think we need to take a look at our land use codes. And we need to make that more friendly. In addition to that, when Chris was referring to outsourcing overseas, right now, the companies that outsource are really the big companies. And if they can outsource to overseas, they can outsource to smaller companies in our San Gabriel Valley area. But in order to encourage that, what we have to do is to deal with the economic disparities that occur when we do it in-house and on our properties here versus having it done overseas. And that is, we need to take a look at that tax code. If the companies outsource, those expenditures that they spend overseas should not become a tax deduction off of their income tax. They don't spend the money here. They should not be allowed to take advantage of that as a deduction against their income. In that way, then they will pay more income tax to revitalize our communities here in the San Gabriel Valley. So we can use the tax structure, and we can utilize our land use structure in order to encourage businesses to stay in our communities. There really, at the present time, there are various research companies with reference to alternative energy sources. And you can partner with some of these research companies now to get the technology to bring to our cities.
Thank you, Betty. At this time, we're going to take a 2-minute break so that the audience can get a stretch break and get a drink. Okay, so we're going to take a 2-minute break, and then we're going to respond respond to questions that have been presented.
Well, that was time for you to get a quick break. We'll continue?
We'll continue as soon as the candidates take their seat. Okay, we're back ready to continue with the debate. As I mentioned earlier, we received a couple of questions from the audience that we want to also present to the candidates. So before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and finish flushing through the final question that I have for the candidates so they can make sure that they have given us a real insight on their efforts regarding our environments. the question that I have for you at the moment, Chris, is what is your plan? What is your plan to not only attract the business, but also to get this community more visibility with regards to jobs in this area?
Well, like I said earlier, there's like enterprise zones or incentives, tax incentives. You can manufacture, the San Gabriel Valley has a great manufacturing base, and with the right programs in place, you can put all the San Gabriel people that are looking for work into these industries, and like I said earlier, quit outsourcing it. And the other thing is when you install like a windmill, I'm sure there's some areas in here that we can have the windmills working. They will also have a crew that has to maintain them and a crew that has to monitor them. So you've kept that in-house. You don't outsource that either. With regards to the residential, there was a couple places when I lived up in the high desert area that had home wind production, but a lot of the complaints were they were too noisy or they didn't look good. Well, the looks part I can't have a problem with. I know we can design it to where they're quiet running and still, but that's where we need to get our city codes in alignment to get on green to where you can have a wind at your house and make that meter start going backwards. And right now there's a lot of restrictions, both in the federal and state governments, let alone your city codes. And I had to deal with the state codes when I built the school, so I know how much fun that can be. But it can be done, especially as long as it's not irritating the people that are around them. But you can make a quiet wind turbine. Obviously, the solar's quiet. I just don't want to see the boondoggle. I think a lot of you can remember the boondoggle that the federal government made when get that solar water heating panel, and they didn't have the right designs. And pretty soon those things just started sagging and coming down. And after a while, those companies went away. They made their millions, and you were stuck with a piece of crap on the roof that looked like the lawn system on steroids. And you're going, now what? Would you believe in the Pomona Valley they had solar heaters at the turn of the century? So it's not new.
Thank you, Chris. Betty?
May I stand up?
Sure.
You know,
Excuse-
attracting businesses into our community, we can't.
If you stand, please use the microphone.
Okay.
Okay.
The question really shouldn't be limited to green technology companies, although those are the new companies that could create life into our cities in terms of giving us new jobs and revitalize our economy. But the reason why I say it shouldn't be limited to that is I think that most people who are elected officials realize how difficult it is in this economy to be able to bring businesses into the various cities. We see a lot of vacancies, both commercial as well as in the homes. This is a time where we need to be proactive and a little bit more creative. And since green technology is a new business and that is where the growth will come, what we need to do is to seek out the research companies that have that technology, the larger companies that have that technology. You can partner with them because the larger companies do have requirements and will get credits. If minority or whether it be racial minority or whether it be female minority, they will get federal credits for that. And that's what I think we need to do is to look up and see what the Department of Commerce has in terms of incentives for our businesses and go to the large companies and partner up with them, and you can then start the small companies in your community. But you know, you can't do that as a small business person. You may not have the resource. It really should be the cities can take and should take the forefront in doing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty.